Have you ever wondered where the problems in the world today would exist if we had deeper connection to ourselves, others, and the environment and acted from that place? Welcome to the Conscious Action Podcast with your host, Brian Berneman, who believe that connection is the key to taking conscious action as individuals and creating a better world. We are here to raise awareness and inspire meaningful action by sharing stories, knowledge, and conversations with thought leaders and change makers. From sustainability to well-being and everything related to conscious living, our mission is to empower you to be the change that you want to see in the world. Welcome everyone to a new episode of the Conscious Action Podcast. I am Brian Berneman, your host, and for this episode, I have the pleasure to be joined all the way here as well in Auckland, New Zealand by Natali Brown. Thank you so much for being here, for having this conversation, and for everybody that is listening or watching to us. Can you share a little bit about you and your path?
Thank you, Brian. It's my absolute pleasure to be here today. Where do I begin? Goodness, it's certainly been a journey for me. I am actually originally from South Africa. I lived in the UK for 13 years before moving to New Zealand, and I've been here pretty much 13 years now as well. So have traveled all over the world. I have a beautiful husband. We're celebrating our 22nd wedding anniversary this year in December, and I have two beautiful boys, teenagers, and it's never a dull moment in my house because I also have animals, dogs and cats, and loving life. And I absolutely love what I do as well. So from being mum, and apart from doing everything that I'm doing as a normal mum, I also do I work with women and men and help them to come into divine consciousness of their own beautiful creative magic and their medicine. And I'm here to teach many different things that have not been shared before. And sharing Sentaura, which is the creative frequency of God, that's come here to assist humanity during this beautiful time of Ascension, allowing people to come into that space of innate wisdom and understanding of why they came here and what are they here to do. And yes, I've just released a book about that just over the weekend, and I'm very pleased to say that we've reached several number ones and over the world, and actually in 5 countries, which is really, really amazing. Wow. And it tells you more about the Sentaura frequency, the origins of it, how it was birthed, how it was activated, and how it came about. So I'm not going to go too much into that right now because, I'd love for you all to read the book and understand exactly what it is all about. So my journey actually started from a very young age. I was a young girl and I used to see the world in a very, very different way. I believe from normal people. I always found the beauty in things, and there was this real divine stream of love that was always pouring out of me. And I didn't understand it at that time when I was a young girl. And I think the catalyst to my journey was when my beautiful grandmother said to me one day, "You have healing hands." And that is when, and even then, back then, I didn't know what that meant. But she always used to say to me, "I feel better when you put your hands on me," because she used to have really sore shoulders. So as a young woman or young girl, she used to ask me to place my hands and just rub her shoulders for her. She had fibrositis. And she would always feel better afterwards. And I was like, oh, okay. I made her better, but I didn't even worry about it. And then so my journey continued, and I actually shut my gifts down from a young age. And because of things that happened in my life when I was younger. And I had to come back. I had to come back to find myself. And so I did go into the corporate world. I worked in investment banking. I opened my own photography business where I took people on a beautiful journey. Moved and shifted throughout the world. And like I said, traveled throughout the world. But then in 2018, my life changed. about 5 years before that, I kept on hearing these voices, and I've always been able to see spirit, feel them, hear them, around me. But I was shutting it down. I thought I was going crazy. And so I ended up having or be given a bit of a kick up the back behind, as you say, by the universe. And so what happened is in 2018, I was in a huge accident. That was another awakening moment for me, where I realized that life wasn't as it seemed. And there was this realization that actually I wasn't doing what I came here to do. I was in the corporate world working a 9-to-5 job. And Spirit said to me afterwards, Nat, you were needed there as well. And because I would stand around the coffee machine and I would just talk to people, and they would say to me, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. So, I was needed in those places as well. Yeah. But ultimately, it came down to me sitting upstairs one day in my lounge. And after the accident, I said to Spirit, what do I do now? I am done with this pain. I'm done with, because I had some really severe injuries, and I was like, I don't want to go through this anymore. And I said, what do I do now? And my life literally was scraped clean at that point, because I had left my job. I didn't want to work in corporate anymore. And I was like, well, what do I do now? And so I heard the words, your work here is not yet done, loud and clear in my head. And I said to this voice, okay, show me what's next. What comes next? And I started feeling my body vibrating and light up. And I felt this real joy for life coming over me, and realizing that, there was something more here. And so I went on this massive search, soul searcher basically. And that's why my podcast is also called Soul Searcher. And I found my way. And I met some really beautiful people along the way who were all these amazing souls that planted seeds for me to come back to what it is that I'm here to do today.
So beautiful. Thank you for sharing all of that. I think that it's always for me so important to be able to share our journeys, at least in a condensed way, so that everybody can also understand, like they might see you now, they might see me now, and this is not the person that started on the journey. And a lot of times, the understanding of that journey is so important, to be able to find either inspiration, or to find something that resonates, to find something that is like that recognition that each of us need to go through our own unique journey, and that there's no one path. It's not like this is what needs to be done and that's it. It's like I'm being open. And I love, I think that's something that you shared, that I think that I see it so much, is when we connect to those gifts, or those, like just being open when we're kids, and then having to shut that down and living that normal life that society is, like telling us that we need to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. Yet understanding, how do we reconnect? How do we come back to that place? How can we be open to potentially a different way of living that is actually aligned to us, to our essence, to our soul or spirit, however we want to call that, and allowing that to take place, to surrender, to be like, okay, this needs to happen. And sometimes for some that means, like as you're saying, like something needs to happen that then that kickstarts an awakening, and it's like, okay, now let's connect with that. And Nat, I'm wondering, when you're sharing about this, that you started to listen to these voices, did you know at that time when you started to listen to those voices, are they spirit, are they guides, angels? Was there any like fear in that?
There was absolutely no fear. I've always had this real divine inner knowing, this guiding force within me. I grew up in an incredibly Christian household, and my parents believed that God was, always there guiding us. And so there was no fear. I knew it was almost like they were nudging me, and it was spirit. I knew it was spirit, but I was in denial of it because I was, so blinded by my own pain and by my own way of life at that time, which was, I was lost. I was lost, and I didn't really know how to navigate it. And so I kept on putting it away and not listening. And obviously, then I had to get that bit of a kick up the bum to say, hey, come on, wake up to what it is that you actually chose as a soul to come here to do. And those voices were never pushy. It was always a gentle, like your higher self, talking to you, a really, really gentle voice that say, come, we're here, we're supporting you. And I know, I've always known things before people can even say it. I walk into a room and I know immediately what's happening for that person and what their energy is telling me. And I always just thought it was normal. Well, it is actually normal because most of us, or all of us, have the ability to tap into that, don't we? But the same as what happened for me, I shut it down for such a long time, and I had to come back to remembrance of that innate abilities.
Yeah, it's so interesting, that aspect of things, of what has been normalized and what is, like weird or alternative, or like just something that is not as widely accepted, and we all have that innate capacity to connect, and I always, like, for many years, and it's not something that I talk about it all of the time because I understand that not everyone is open to it, but I'm always going with my entourage everywhere. It's like all of these beings that are always there with me, and as you're saying, I love, I connect in a way that it's always loving, kind. There's always as an invitation. It's not you have to. There's not, it's like there's an invitation. There's an orientation of the energy, and it's like, okay, like, what if it's going that way instead of going that way? And I think that it's so, for me, so important to be able to be open to that, because not everyone, as like in society, is so open, therefore won't follow those things that sometimes some might call it intuition, like those nudges that you're mentioning. Like, there's a lot of that happening, but most people are either not paying attention to it or neglecting it, and they just keep on going in one direction, whereas perhaps that's not why they came here, and perhaps that doesn't enable them to share the gifts that they have to share with everyone here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel that, we shut down our gifts for a reason, because we have all of these stories that we tell ourselves that we can't do things, that we're not capable of things. And so we end up following the narrative, following what everyone's told us, what society dictates for us, right? But it is everyone's journey is so unique, and coming back to that space of understanding of who you are. And I asked many questions. I had to go and deep dive through all those different onion layers, to find who I was. And I'm still a student. I'm still learning, and I'm learning so much through my own clients and my own students and the work that I'm doing and what I'm teaching. And constantly we're learning from the divine. But if we can let go of that noise, the chaos around us, the noise, the filtration system that we, or the filtering system, I call it like the rose-colored glasses that we're wearing, if we can take them off and go, okay, well, let me see life as it is right now, and what do I want to do with it? And I came to that point in my life where I was like, I no longer want to be part of this which makes me feel unhappy, this which makes me feel removed from my true love, my divinity. And I had to go on a journey of finding myself. And we all do, right? We all have to go on this path of discovery. And it is scary. It is liberating. It's exciting. And often people don't do it because of the fact that we have to face our untruths. But when we do face those untruths, that's when we begin to understand at the core who we are and what it is that we are here to do. And then we can start sharing that from a space of authenticity, from a space of our unique soul codes that we hold within us.
Beautiful. Yeah. And you know, I think that it's so important to understand as well. And I think that I see this a lot with the people that I work with, that there's a sense that whatever it is that is happening in their lives at that moment, that's not it. Like they are not fully happy, fully aligned, fully, you know, like there with what's happening in their lives. And there needs to be somehow a change happening. That change for everybody is slightly different, yet there needs to be a change. And I remember when I was a teenager that I had this recognition, you know, like that my life, like there was more to life than what I was living. There was more layers of experiencing that could be there. Like I could somehow taste or know that that was there, but I wasn't experiencing that. And that's what led me on my journey of, you know, like trying to like go and find and learn and peel those layers to then be able to be open. And as you're saying, you know, like being always curious, being always learning from everything and everyone, because that's part of life. Like everything is teaching us all of the time. Am I actually allowing that? So that's really, really interesting. I'm curious, Nat, when you start to make this change in your life and you start to like listen to spirit, what was that came first? Did the Sentaura teachings came first? How did that happen?
Yeah, so when I started listening to spirit, I mean, I went to see a healer, and this was really another bit of a kick up the butt. I went to see this healer because I was searching, as I said, you know, for answers. And I walked into this room, and she was a psychic medium as well. And this was my first real encounter with psychic mediums. And I was interested. I wanted to find out, you know, what was going on with these type of people. And little did I know that I was also a psychic medium and that I had the ability to be able to channel and tune in, but I didn't understand any of that stuff at the time. So I walk into this woman's healing room, and I sit down, and she's about to do a reading for me, and she looks behind me and around me and at the back of me, and she goes, you have quite a few people here. You have, you know, spirit around you. And I was like, oh my gosh. And it was almost like all memories of when I was a child flooded back for me. And I realized that at that moment that actually I've always had this connection with spirit. And she started telling me that I was here as a healer, and that she says, you're here to be a Reiki master. And I'm going, what is that? I had no idea, right? And so I then, like I said, I went searching, and I became a sponge. I wanted to know more. It was like that thread that was pulling me, that golden thread that was pulling me forward. You know, I just wanted to know more, learn more. And I completed my Reiki Masters, began healing people, began teaching people as well through Reiki. And the next thing you knew, I was actually, and this happened very early on, I would start receiving downloads and messages from this person, and I could see into their bodies. I could see colors coming in to work with colors, and I felt different frequencies. And I was like, this is not Reiki. I'm not doing Reiki. but I could feel all the different things that was coming in. And I was like, okay, I'm a channel, I'm going to be doing Reiki. I'm a channel for Reiki to flow through me. But Spirit had other ideas. And so, yeah, they sent me lots of different messages. But anyway, so I started to realize that I was doing more than just healing. I was also here to bring through messages for people. So at the end of a healing session, I would sit and I would take another hour, half an hour to an hour, sitting talking to these people about what I experienced, what I picked up for them. And that was like bringing the mind, body, spirit together. And that was the catalyst for change for them. And a lot of people came back and returned to me because I had this insight that I could give them. So, and this was the real first start of Sentaura, which is the divine intelligence of Source, of God that was flowing through me. And I realized that I wasn't just doing Reiki, and then I started my coaching business. I wanted to show people and help people. I wanted to give people the information that was coming through me and flooding through me to help people. And my coaching business was going really well. And then I realized, hang on a minute, there's more that I can do. There's more that I could offer. And so I started doing workshops and all sorts of different things and started teaching people. And I would be able to, like I said, just know certain things, downloads that I received in the moment on the spot about someone, and it would evoke emotions within them that was incredibly healing for them. So yeah, that was pretty much how things started. But I remember after seeing that healer and after she did the reading for me, I remember driving down the motorway and I was laughing, literally crying and laughing at the same time. And I remember feeling free, feeling liberated, feeling like something had been taken away from my eyes and I could see clearly for the first time in a long time. And I will forever be grateful to that beautiful woman that shared that with me, because she was a soul that came and planted a seed for me. And so with all of us, we have this ability to plant seeds for people and to be able to share our love and compassion. And when the time is right for you, you get activated through that. You come to consciousness and realization. So it's certainly been a beautiful journey.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I had when I was a teenager, something interesting the same with my Reiki teacher, that it was the first time that I went to a Reiki healing, and then I was like, oh well, like I had this recognition of something. I'm like, oh, can you teach me this? And then he like connected with his guides or his spirits, and then he told me, this is my gift for you, because you're going to help a lot of people in the future. And I'm like, oh, like I wasn't even thinking about healing or energy on that. And through the years, it's been really interesting, because as you're saying, just being a channel to energy, it's not just Reiki. There's a lot of different things, and a lot of times, like I tell people that when I see them, it's like, do you want Reiki specific, or do you want like just open and just and it's always a really interesting thing as well for me, noticing what's coming through, and just like I also feel I'm not doing anything. Like whatever happened, it's not me. Like I'm just allowing that to come through. And I think that's such an interesting concept for a lot of people to understand, like that when a lot of my clients tell me like, oh, like thank you or something like that was wonderful. I'm like, well, that's all you. Like I didn't do anything other than just being there and allowing that to happen, or being in the space facilitating that. But it's all about them and that connection with like their spirit, or however they connect with things. And I think that that's a lot of times so interesting in that allowing people to reconnect. And as you're saying, like just passing or planting those seeds for someone else, and to be able to have that for them to reconnect with their own gifts. And I think that that's so interesting. So for those not that perhaps, like they're just starting to be like, oh, what's all of this energy stuff? What's all of this? What are the things that you would say to someone that is just at the beginning of their, let's call it, spiritual journey?
Yeah, I actually wrote about this in my book that we launched over the weekend. A little bit of advice is that when someone awakens, your soul takes the front seat, your higher self, okay? And like I said, you begin to ask the questions. You begin to realize that actually things that you've believed is no longer, the truth as such. So I feel that the first thing that you have to do is go and sit and really witness the stories that's coming up for you. Really witness what is true for you and what is not. And start working on transmuting and releasing those parts of you that are not true. And weaving through the different elements and making sure that you take those bits that's unique to you, okay, and really embody them. Allow yourself to come into a space of joy through finding and discovering yourself along the way. There is a lot of information out there, but you are the only one that can take charge of your life and what you are here to do. It's about taking radical responsibility. And when you work in co-creation with your higher self, your higher soul self, which is always there working for you and guiding you, it's very important to understand that we're actually co-creating with the universe. We're not separate from the universe. We're working as one, right? So coming back to oneness is that invitation for us to start asking the right questions, or any questions for that matter. Is this my truth? Is this my energy that I'm feeling today? Why am I feeling so depressed? Remember, we're connected as a collective. So maybe you tapped into the collective energy. Maybe your gifts that's awakening through you at the moment is like just the spark of that, your telepathy, your amplification of your psychic senses. All of that is coming into play. And you're like, oh my gosh, I can see spirit. Oh my goodness, I can hear spirit. I can sense things, There's a lot that's going to be happening for you. But if you come into that space of inner communication with your higher self, it will start to make sense. You'll start to reharmonize your energy. You then begin to embody the frequencies, the higher frequencies that's coming through. The more you let go of the untruths, the higher the frequencies are that you can access. And yes, like I said, there's lots of information out there. There's lots of people out there that share information. So it is always about going, is this true for me? Does it feel right? Does it feel true to me right now? We are all on our journey at different levels and stages. You cannot be where someone else is and look at them and compare yourself to them, because it is about coming back to yourself now. And your awakening is simply remembering. You are starting to remember who you are. And through each level of remembering, there's going to be different aspects of de-armoring, of letting go, and of calling back parts of your soul, calling back remembrance of your soul. In every stage of this, it's also being compassionate and kind as you are thanking those parts of you that have brought you to this very space of being. And then allowing yourself to go, okay, now I'm ready for that more. I'm ready to embrace the more, to embody the more, to find my joy, to follow that call of my soul, and to allow myself to be steered in the direction that feels wholesome, that feels fulfilling, that feels happy, that fills our cup.
Beautiful. That there's something that you said then that, well, a couple of things that you said that for me are so important. One is understanding like that radical, like responsibility, and to be able to understand that each of us, we have the answers already. Like there's something, and I think that this is partly why it resonated so much, and it's been a big part of my journey in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, because that gave me a lot of the lenses to see some of these things of understanding, understanding feelings, understanding vibrations, understanding resonance, understanding, like I go with what resonates to me, and what doesn't resonate, I leave it. And it might be that later on, like that thing that I didn't resonate with, now I resonate with. But I always tell people in every time that I'm doing a workshop or something like that, it's like, just take what resonates and the rest just leave it behind. Like, don't even, don't even get into it. And I think that that is one of the things that I invite everyone all of the time, like, find what resonates, go to what resonates. There's something there. Like when we start to tap more into that, the easier it is. Yet, how do we get to actually understand what do we resonate with? Well, it's that, as you shared, going to that quiet place, like just sitting, because we have the answers. And understanding that, one of the things that my teacher used to say, he would talk about the universe as this dynamic energy configuration all of the time. And then he would say, we as humans in these bodies, we have a specific dynamic configuration. And he would say, it's like the drops in the ocean. The drop is the ocean, yet as well, it's the drop.
Yeah.
And being able to have that as, like I am one, we are one, we are also part of that oneness. So how do we play and dance with that? And that's, that beautiful thing of as you're saying, just connecting to our own way, connecting to that remembering. Because at the end of the day, that for me is one of the things with the Buddhist lenses, like, enlightenment or Buddhahood. It's not something that you go towards and you're seeking. It's about remembering. You already are that, and what needs to happen is just peeling all of those layers and getting back to, that's already there. That oneness is already there. I am that. Now I know it. Now I can live it. And it's such a huge shift in consciousness and in awareness to be able to have that understanding, because it's so, I think that for me, it takes a lot of the pressure out of the way. If I need to, like learn all of these different things, then I already know this. Now I just need to find the key that opened the door for me to actually realize that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is about simplifying things because, our world is so complex. We creators, right? We create our world and we've made it really complex. And it's about really starting to peel back the layers of this this weaving and interweaving of different matrices and different paradigms and patterning and all of that stuff that we have. And like I said, I always use the analogy of the onion layer. When you get, like you say, when you get to that core, you're like, oh, I'm already this, and it's beautiful. I don't have to change anything. But I think the biggest thing is for humanity to realize that we are not our pain. We are not our struggle. We are not our fear. We ultimately are beings of love that have experiences that bring us back to that space of love, back to that core space of everything that we know and everything that we are already. So it's a beautiful place to be. And part of what I'm teaching, and this is the main body of my work, is to activate through the work that I do with Sentaura, the creator codes, which are the royal creator codes. They're the Christ codes, God's creator codes within us, and we all hold those codes. And so because of these layers and layers and layers of struggle and pain and fear and slave codes and all sorts of things that we have, over time, almost attracted like magnets to us, and it's been implanted and programming. So Sentaura almost cuts like a knife. It's the truth of God, and it cuts like a knife through all of these layers to get to the core of who you are and activate your divine blueprint, which Spirit downloaded as the gold print. This is the Christic gold print of God. And so it then activates those codes within you that you have, that you hold within you, that's been dormant. And the activation of those codes, it's like keys that get turned on to open certain doors for you. And once those doors start opening, you can then, as a human being here, live from a different perspective, a different way of being. And you then begin to realize that actually you are much more than just your humanness. Yes, you are a human being here, but you actually hold so much more light within you. So these real creator codes we have within all of us, they hold the divine blueprint of Christ, of God. And so Sentaura, the frequency, is the only frequency that can penetrate these dense layers. It's come back, it's returned as a gift to humanity to be able to help us really pinpoint those parts in our bodies and our energy fields that's no longer serving us, that's needing to be dissolved, and to de-arm it, to allow ourselves to come to the space of, actually, I am more than this, right? So when we do this, and when we start healing through the different layers or cut away the layers, and we can get back to the core, what happens is we then reconnect to the purest source blueprint, the highest streams of consciousness. And a lot of what has happened for humanity is that that's been cut off for us. So the work with Sentaura is incredibly important. It is an incredible frequency here that is gifted back to us through God. And the seraphim, the creation angels of God, are here, and that is why I've incarnated here, because I've incarnated here to teach the ways of God, the ancient wisdom of God, and bring that back to humanity and help us realize that actually we are not our fear, we are not our pain, we're not our struggle, and that we are creators, we are sovereign beings. And so by allowing ourselves to come into consciousness and allowing ourselves to come into love for ourselves, this frequency is actually helping to amplify the love of God, unconditional love, to reharmonize our planet. So when we come into our divine blueprint, our original blueprint, there is no fear. There is only love. There is only peace. We begin to see how we can co-create and collaborate with the universe, with all the beings that's on our planet, the animals, the plant kingdom, the birds. We can start to tap into the wisdom of the animals and the plants in a different way completely. We access those streams of consciousness through our gifts, which could be telepathy, which could be levitation, which could be, telekinesis. Whatever it is, we have those gifts within us already. And we simply remembering through the activation of our real creator codes what we are capable of and what our soul mission is here. And that is pretty much my mission here, is to teach humanity, to help them remember and to help them bring them back, or guide them back, not bring them back, but guide them back to the remembrance that they do have within them the gold print of God and of Christ.
Beautiful. I think it's so interesting as well. Timing. I think that I don't think I know. This is a time of a lot of consciousness shift. This is a time of a lot of people awakening to allow that shift to happen, as you're saying, with that co-creation. There's a lot of different souls that are needed with different ways to activate the codes and to activate the different energies and frequencies that are needed for us as, like as a universe to make that shift. And it's interesting a lot of times, like listening and meeting people that are bringing a slightly different aspect of that. Like there's all of these different things. And as you said before, like it's like everybody's bringing their uniqueness, and there's a reason why each person is bringing that energy and those things. And I think that it's I find that now it's so needed, and more people are waking up to like, this is a way that I can actually reconnect. This is a way that I can work with all of those self-imposed limitations, because we are like imposing all of those limitations, as you're saying, because we could transmute them or cut them open and just get like to the understanding those are not real. And I'm allowing that to keep me down, or to like to cling on to them, because that's what's known, that's what's been happening. Yet there's a shift happening, and the more that we're able to open and to reconnect with that and to resonate, it's like, oh, do I resonate with this? Then yes, then this is a way. Do I resonate with something else? Then go and do that one. Like it's what do we resonate with? And I think that's so important. Just like to know a little bit more. So if someone like is listening and it's like, oh wow, this seems really interesting, how does this look like? Do people like go with you, and is there like energy? Is it similar to Reiki? How does a session of Sentaura looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. So a Sentaura healing session can be done in person, or it can be done via distance healing as well, the same as what Reiki can be given. So Sentaura is the frequency that holds all other frequencies within it. And because of that, I work with the Seraphim Diamond Light, which is a very, very high frequency. It's almost like a facilitation of the frequency coming through. If you can imagine the creative frequency that creates worlds, it's God's frequency that creates from energy matter. So we had to facilitate this energy to come down through my channel, and I had to go through an alchemical initiation process to be able to do that. So when it comes through the diamond light, and it's much softer, much gentler. And people experience their multidimensionality throughout a healing session, a Sentaura healing session. And you find that you go very, very deep during this healing session, because I have so many of your beautiful personal guides that's coming in. I have my Seraphim team, my universal guides that come in during the session as well. And it's you lying down, you have your eyes closed, you're experiencing the unconditional love of God moving through you. And during the session, it is not a quiet session. It's not like Reiki where I just hold my hands over you and, it happens. I actually consciously, I'm speaking to the person that I'm healing. I'm sharing the divine intelligence that comes through Sentaura, through the divine, with you constantly. Tell you about your guides that's coming in. I tell you about what the psychic surgery, if I'm performing psychic surgery, if any energies are being released, I will tell you, I'm releasing your energy now here. This is a past life that's coming up. Oh, the dragons are coming in for you. Okay, you've got some plants coming in to perform, to share their medicine with you. Mother Gaia is coming in, rising and coming to heal you. You've got ancestors coming in. So there's lots of different aspects. Sentaura is a multidimensional healing system that works with the diamond light. And so it's almost like precision energy healing. It pinpoints very specific parts in your body for upgrade, recalibration, activation, but also releasing of dis-ease and discomfort in the body. And at the same time, it is recoding the body. So if there is any slave codes, fear codes, anything that is sitting within your energy field, or within the subtle bodies at all. It is coding. Okay, so it brings you up to your highest timeline available to you right now. So it's a very multidimensional energy experience. People that have had Sentaura healing sessions experience it as incredibly beautiful love. It's just a feeling of love and your angels being there flowing through you, There is also a potency around the energy. Sometimes there's some density and darkness, attachments, or, real yucky stuff, or implants or imprints, blood oaths, blood contracts, and things that need to be removed. And then I will have my team come in to assist, and your team to come in to assist to remove those things, because it is not for your highest, greatest good. And, I always work with this thing of, if it is time for you to come into consciousness and realization and heal this part of you, let it be so. Because there's some healers that will go and cut cords and do lots of different things, and it might not be the right time for you to cut the cord from that person and be able to learn the lesson that is associated with that experience. Yeah. So a healing session in person, I speak light language. I will channel frequency, so I also do toning, and I have this ability to be able to tap into these frequencies that is then almost like it dissolves out any patterns or energies that is not, for your highest, greatest good. Some light language will come through. The light language, soul speak, works at a very, very high level to really speak to the person's higher self and communicate with your guides that's there supporting the healing session as well. During healing, I work with, often Jesus comes in to work with me. Archangel Michael has been with me for a very, very, very long time. I work with various other angelic beings and ascended masters, and they all come in to assist. So you might find that you fall asleep during a healing session. You might find that you go into a very deep space of relaxation. And yeah, that's normally an in-person one. The same with, distance healing. You can lie down or you can experience it sitting up. So that's absolutely fine. But you receive the same energy via distance healing as what you would experience in person.
Yeah, and for me at least, like ever since I started learning about energy healing, there's been no difference between in person or distant. And I know that not everybody's super open to that until they're able to experience it. And it's like, oh, okay, yes, that's possible. Yeah, like I think that it's, like as you're saying, it's such an interesting way of working as well with the understanding that we have those beings and those light beings and that support there. And a lot of times there needs to be, like someone or a way to channel that. And a lot of times is, like, this is why I keep on working with different like healers and different people that, have a specific frequency that they can channel, and it's like, well, like I want that. I cannot do that at this time, so like I want to experience that. And I think that the more that we're open to that, to like, oh, this resonates with me, then it's like, okay, exploring that, and then being able to explore it more to the point that you might be then sharing that, because you also share this as a way for others to share Sentaura, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So I initiate students. It is a 7-month program, and there is a reason for it. It is a really potent frequency, and there is a process of purification that happens throughout the whole program, because you cannot channel. Pure source is not pure. That is not truth, right? So The process is a 3-step process where in the first month, we're pretty much focusing on purification, releasing anything that needs to go. And then in each initiation, unlocking your creator codes as we go along, and really bringing in all of those parts of you, the remembrance, all of those parts of you. Because it's not just so much the unlocking, but it's understanding what it is that you are capable of, what it is that you came here to do. How does that reconnect and interconnect with everything that's here on our planet and in the cosmos? So I not only teach people or help people to purify, but also help them to discover and understand their gifts and their soul purpose. And then they start making sense of it all, and they stop being afraid of their own gifts, because it can be scary, right? If you're first starting to hear spirit, or you coming into the space of like, oh my gosh, my hands are going hot, or you go through a process of alchemy. So it's about understanding how to work with it. And my main mission here is, as people come online, as their gifts come online, is to be able to be a facilitator, a guide for those people, to be able to show them that it's okay, but also to direct those energies for the highest, greatest good. Because yes, as we come online, as our gifts are activating, as we're remembering who we are, those things can be used for other nefarious activities and things like that. So I've come here with the frequency of Sentaura, channeling God's love through me, to be able to show what they're capable of, but then also to help them direct these frequencies, that we can reharmonize the energies on our planet. And it's so important for our future and future generations as we are coming online. And I want to say, this is not electronically coming online as we're remembering and activating our gifts, right? Our children are going to be doing the same. They're already coming in activated. And so it's about knowing what to do and teaching our children, because this is going to be telepathy. I was told by Spirit about maybe a couple of years ago that phones are no longer going to be part of who we are and what we use, telephones or mobile phones. We're going to be telepathically communicating with each other. And so it's about moving with our innate abilities. And no machine, I just want to add this, no machine, no artificial technology intelligence can recreate what we can do as human beings. Our innate abilities and the possibilities that we have access to as a human being, connected to source, connected to God's alchemy, we can move mountains.
Yeah, I love that, and I love the fact that there's this amazing, let's call it a machine, like this is the greatest hardware that is there. So it's like, okay, we need to understand him, we need to understand what's the software that has been implanted and has been programmed there, so then we can understand, is this for the highest purpose or not. And as you're saying, that being able to direct that. And I remember many years ago when I was living in the Tibetan Buddhist retreat center, we started to do practices for like telepathy, and I remember the first time for me that I was able to like do that, and I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then my teacher, like, he reads one of the texts of something that one of the, I can't remember if it was Buddha or one of the like masters, that he said like, oh, like all of those mundane things like telekinesis and telepathy and all of those things, that's nothing, kind of like that's a regular thing, like flying, like that's just something that we can all do. Like it's how do we get like to the actual like good stuff in there and like enlightenment and a lot of other things. And I was like, oh wow, for me telepathy, like levitating, flying, that looks amazing. Yet that understanding, it's like, okay, like there's so much more. And I find it that at this time I talk about this with my mom a lot, we can't even fathom the possibilities of what's coming. We can't understand it with this mind that we have, with this 3D mind, and like what life is going to be like, we can't even understand it. And I think that being open to that it's such an amazing thing to do, like just to be able to be open and to navigate through what's coming and realigning and reconnecting. So yeah, I'm aware that we are almost getting to the end of this conversation. So I'm just going to ask you one last question, and that is, what is something that you wish everybody knew in the world, or what's a message that is coming through now that you'd like to share with everyone?
Trust yourself. Always trust yourself. If it doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. There is so many stories that's being woven in this world, and so much is going to be revealed to you. And it is really coming into trusting yourself. And trusting yourself is placing your hand on your heart and asking yourself, is this true? Is this true? And if you get the answer no, if you get any response and you feel fearful about it, listen to that. Don't get yourself into situations. There's a lot of, and I want to say this, there's a lot of technologies and light workers and people starting to share their gifts and things, okay? Because people do not fully understand yet what those gifts are 100%. They are only working with a capacity of about 30%, which I'm being told by Spirit now. 30% of information or knowledge or understanding of what they are capable of. And so there are people that are working for the light and for the highest, greatest good, but unfortunately, because they haven't quite healed and they're not working in that capacity where they're fully, wholesomely, embodied in their work, there is the space of where they can be infiltrated, where information can be hijacked. So if anything feels untrue, listen to that. Always follow your truth. If you're in a circle or at a gathering or in a situation where you feel uncomfortable, get out, okay? It's okay. You do not have to apologize to anyone for feeling uncomfortable. It's your natural way of being, of telling you that this is not right, this is not your truth. And then look at the world with open eyes. Look at the world with wonder. Find your joy every day. Whatever it is that you can do to find your joy and to do more of what you love, do that, because it raises your frequency. And when you raise your frequency, it raises the frequency of the collective and the planet. So yeah, that's all I wanted to share.
Beautiful. So for everybody listening, go just rewind that and listen to that again, because that's important message there. And not for everybody that resonates with what you're sharing and resonates with Sentaura and are interested in learning more, can you share with us, and we'll put it all on the show notes as well, can you share with us how can they work with you, where can they find you, as well as the book?
Sure. So you can find all my details about Sentaura on my website, which is www.natalibrown, Natali, brown.com. I'm on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook. I have a Facebook group called The Awakened and Embodied Light Leaders. And if you want to book a Sentaura session and experience it, and I always say to people, because they say to me, what is it? It's really difficult for me to try and explain what Sentaura can do for people. Experience it. So I say, come and experience a Sentaura session with me. You can book that on my website. If you want to come and have a chat with me, there is an option to book a free chat with me as well to see if this is right for you, if you want to find out more about it. But also the book that was just released on Friday, you can find it on Amazon. It's called Sentaura Rise. So if you just type that in Amazon and then purchase your copy, and there's lots of information in there. The students that I initiated, the first group of students that I initiated, they share these stories of being in this program and what happened during the program, the beautiful experiences they had. So yeah, it's an amazing book.
Beautiful. So we'll put all of those links on the show notes so that everybody has easy access to it. So if you are listening to this or watching us and you resonated with anything, go and check it out as well. If you have anything that you'd like to share or comment, please do so wherever you're finding this episode. Thank you, Natali, for being here, for sharing not only your time and your wisdom now, but also for sharing just in general your energy in this beautiful co-creation that we're having. So thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me as a guest. It's been so lovely. And yes, if you have any questions, anyone, please do get in touch with me anytime. I'd love to hear from you.
Beautiful. So thank you everyone for being here and for listening to this episode, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye-bye. See ya.
What did you like the most about this episode? Take a moment to think about what change you can make in your life today.
Share your conscious action on social media using #ConsciousAction and tagging @ConsciousActionNZ so we can celebrate your impact on the world and create a ripple effect.
One easy action we would love for you to take right now is to share, like, and subscribe to this podcast. This will help us get these messages out into the world and inspire more people to take conscious action in their own lives, contributing to the better world we hope for.